can we just start with like your name and your position here?
Sure. So it's Breon Rhodes, and I'm a director of programs.
Awesome. I have a list of questions here.
Okay.
I'm not really a professional interviewer or anything.
That's totally fine. I'll answer.
I really appreciate you taking
No
the time
problem.
to meet with us. Can you tell me about One Hope United's mission statement?
Sure. So it is for why am I blanking, Stephanie? For every child and family.
I think.
What?
A life without limits.
Yeah.
Life without limits. I should know this. It's because, see, you put me on the spot and I can't answer.
I knew, and I said to myself, I was like, I probably should have sent these to her before.
You're totally fine. Life without limits. So when it comes to that, so OHU's effort is that any family we come in constant contact with or walks in our door, that all their needs are met from start to finish. So that's really what the mission is for OHU in general. And we have an array of programs that suffice that, work to serve that mission, I should say.
So basically just follows a person in need throughout that need cycle, essentially. And you try to offer support and help them find resources.
Right.
Okay, cool. If you do, how do you plan on expanding services to other states besides the 4 that you operate in currently?
Currently, so they're looking at expanding in those current states that we work with. So when we have strong relationships with our collaborations and our funding sources, it then opens up opportunities for other elements in other areas. So, for example, we have child development centers in Chicago. The goal is for us to then sometime expand and move them into Illinois, even though it's the same state, but different area. Currently, right now, I know they're looking to maneuver services more into Wisconsin than they currently are. And that is just all about the quality of service we currently provide and how we can then begin to provide them in different areas that we're not providing them in.
Okay, and that's a goal for One Hope, is to eventually expand more and offer services in different areas.
Yes.
Cool. How does One Hope allocate resources, like between the educational programs, support services, foster care, and adoption services? Do you guys, is there just like a organizational structure that decides that goal and pretty much taper down?
Yes. So we have 3 different lines of service, 4 different lines of service. We have early learning childhood development, we have community-based family services, and we have residential and placement. And then, so each of those lines of service serves an array of programs, and underneath that is each leadership. And so working with what we consider our cabinet, which is our executive leadership team, we develop and design and figure out how those program and families' needs are met. So it's kind of a hierarchy. Okay. So identify a need, how we are either providing that program or can enhance that program. And then the leaders that are assigned to make sure that happens, and then the direct care staff that are there to then work with the families. It's kind of how it maneuvers down. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically what we're searching for is, organizational structure and plannings, that sort of thing. So that explains it perfectly. Thank you. I was curious about the rebranding efforts in 2010 with the organizational name change. Do you have any insight into...
A little bit. So we were Essential Baptist a long, long time ago. And when we were Essential Baptist, I want to say we were Essential Baptist from at least 15 plus years. And we moved into rebrand to become Kids Hope United.
Okay.
When we were Kids Hope United, we actually were our name was connected to another, not a non-for-profit, but another agency that considered themselves as Kids Hope Incorporated. So because of that alignment, people would confuse our services and entities. So we dove into what are we currently doing at One Hope, what do we want to change, and we actually did a mass survey out to all of our programs and our staff to say, what would you want to look like? What's your opinion? And everyone came back with that universal one. And so that then moved into our new name and us developing a new mission and new values.
That's awesome. I like to hear that you guys did your surveys through company employees instead of outreach outside of the organization. I think that's really cool that you guys incorporated that. From a lot of my readings in my classes, that's one way to ensure success of a company is by asking people who work directly in it.
And when we did the rebranding of our mission statement and values, it was the same logic behind it. We gave out surveys to staff to say, what would your input be? And then when we did develop them, we sent them out to say, do you agree with these? Do they match your work? What other feedback do you have? And that's how we kind of developed our new mission statement, our new mission, and our values. So
That's awesome. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you personally live out the mission of One Hope United on a daily basis?
I think with my goal, I've been with One Hope for 14 years. So I started as an intern. So having my time in direct service and seeing what difficulties were there for staff, leadership, I feel like my job every day when I come in is to make sure that my leadership, my teams have what they need so they can meet the needs of their family. So that really is what my goal is every day, and how I contribute to the bigger mission. Because if I'm taking care of my staff, then they're able to take care of the families that need assistance.
Great. I agree too. So what drew you to your career here?
So we were Central Baptists when I first tried to do an internship out of Collinsville, Illinois. But no one ever called me back. And I was like, why not? Why aren't they calling me? I was going to school at Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. But then they had that name rechange, like when I went to my graduate level, and it became Kids Hope. And so I reached out, and they opened up the door to let me do an internship in what they call the Intensive Placement Services Program. And I was an intern for about 2 years, and I really, really enjoyed like the programs and the atmosphere. And about 2 months prior to my internship being over, they had a job opening come up. And so I submitted my resume and I moved to that position. And so I just enjoyed the atmosphere, the teamwork, and the work they were doing with the youth that we worked with and the families was really passionate to me. And so I just wanted to be able to continue that. So
you're a compassionate person, and it's safe to say that you kind of had them in your radar, I guess, then.
I did.
Before.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I feel like it all just kind of... I think it happens for a reason, right? And I feel like the social service agency, that too, but it was just really good timing. Like, they had some shifts in staff, and it was time for positions to come open, and my time was coming to where I was at the eligibility, chance to do so. So, yeah, I took a chance, and I think the biggest thing for me is, and I might be answering too much, is that I started as an intern, but the ability that One Hope has provided me to grow in that time frame has been great to do that within one agency, and I have to do it within, like, multiple entities.
Agreed.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations on that for you.
Thanks.
It's awesome to find some place that you fit in right off the bat, too. What do you think is the greatest thing about One Hope? Which you probably have already said this about 40 different times.
Totally fine. My teams and the work they do. The resilience. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to watch them come into work every day and do the work they do. And, of course, we all have our hard days and when we're frustrated. But then be able to still support each other and even deal with families when they're difficult. I feel like just watching them do what they do is what I enjoy. So
yeah. How do you deal with that? Like families that basically maybe reject your services, or how do you advise your staff?
Right. I think a big part of it is that you can only help someone as much as they want to be helped. So knowing that you've done everything in your power to make that impact, people have to make their own decisions on their own. And knowing that when you leave a family, you have to close a family, that you did every diligent effort is kind of what makes you feel better about having to close it, knowing that there's nothing else you could have done to maneuver that. And sometimes just about families not understanding they're not at the point where they are at yet to accept your help, and you being okay with that. I always tell my workers, when you're working harder than a family to make their success, you want to take a step back and think, why, right? And not that it's not good, because above and beyond work is really required in social work because you have to really give it your all. But when you come to the point realizing you're doing more for a family than they're doing, you have to kind of step back and say, what's my personal need I'm trying to meet compared to what I'm responsible to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And kind of learning that balance. And really good self-care. Well-being is essential. So we support a really strong well-being program, make sure staff take care of themselves, take their time off. Staff what's frustrating and challenging them, balancing that piece is really essential, I think, in their success of being able to deal with those families that come in and come out.
Yeah.
Or families that come constantly and never, and don't make change. And a lot of times, I would say majority of the time, workers always have that one family that made an impact, so I always have them keep something symbolistic of it, so that when they're having bad days, they can go back and read that letter that says thank you, or remember that one case that did so well, because you will have 1 out of 15 that does really well, and that one gets you through the 15 that don't. So it makes an impact for them. Mm-hmm.
Understood. How do you think your leadership, or perhaps someone you admire, help the organization and its people grow?
Sure. So I'd say I've had two very defined leaders at One Hope in my experience. Rachel Gubbin, she was my very first supervisor, and then Timothy Snowden, who just recently left. And
I think I saw Rachel's name in the hierarchy.
You might have at one point. Yeah. And Tim's for sure at one point. What I respected about their leadership is that they challenged me to lead my teams and staff to certain quality goals, but also managing the quality with well care, but also making sure that I model what I need from them. You know what I mean? And so I feel like their supportive leadership really helped me grow. And then I really
live that mission statement.
Right. And then helped me also figure out how to balance that task of getting things done, but also having feelings attached to that, because social work's hard. That makes sense. So, and I believe their relationship with the community and the way they design and develop programs really made it easy for senior leaders to manage and learn how to move through those things, because there was a support there. If you don't know the answer, you could ask, and that makes a huge impact.
Yeah, and being approachable.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, you've already answered that one. My next question was how do you continually motivate your subordinates to also live out the mission of One Hope? But as you said, self-care and modeling it yourself. So
right.
And I think
I think a big thing is I tell them, what I permit, I promote. Like if I'm very open about what my expectations are and what's expected out of you, it helps promote that so that those hard times become easier. And also, I think it's accountability piece. I think it's very important with leadership. Like, if I tell my staff I can count on them, they know they can count on me, and that makes a huge shift, I think, in that area too.
Gotcha. How do you see yourself as part of the future of One Hope?
Well, good question. There's lots of things I'd like to continue to expand at One Hope, and when it comes to specifically behavioral health, I see my role as being a big part of maneuvering behavioral health in a larger picture in every area, not just certain areas, because it's a need. We have a lot of programs that do really good work, but we don't have as strong as like behavioral health, and I guess they're like outpatient counseling, like families coming to us or us going to them and just doing that. And so I would hope that in the next 3 to 5 years that is a growth I get to take on.
I hope so too. It's definitely something in our society that needs more attention.
Yes.
Can you discuss any strategic, tactical, or operational goals with me?
Yeah. So, strategically, I guess we're currently working on a strategic plan. We had one, but we have new leadership. We have a new CEO, and we have a new COO, which is Chief Operating Officer. So currently, we're in the planning phase of our strategic plan and what that looks like.
Nice.
So, we had one, but it's kind of revamped right now. So we're in the process. So they pull different leaders and staff from all different areas and have meetings to talk about what that looks like, and our board members as well. And then from there, we launch what the strategic plan will look like.
Awesome. Great. Do you know what any like key performance indicators that you guys look at for success of like One Hope?
So a big indicator is that families won't have additional reports of neglect and abuse when they're open with our families. Our services, I should say.
And I guess that's stuff that you can actually statistically
you can
track,
right?
Because your outputs are a little different than say like a manufacturing plant. Correct. Or even normal services, because you're nonprofit as well.
Right.
So,
and every program has a set amount of outcomes they're required to meet based on their program. But OHU overall has how do we manage those and make sure that the services we're providing are increasing those outcomes every year.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, So the abuse and neglect is a large one, because really no matter what program you're involved in, it can be managed. Another one is we have so many different assessment tools, but the big picture is from beginning to end, how is that tool that program used shown that a family has had progress from beginning to end? And that's a big one too. We also do satisfaction surveys with our families and all programs, and that's a big outcome that we monitor on a yearly basis.
Okay. So, I don't want to do you deal with people who are sometimes court ordered, or
some programs do, yes.
Collaborate with Department of Child Services, I'd assume, and So that's how people come to you sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that way. And do you just also have like families who walk in and request
Yeah, so
services?
we have foster care and intact, which is DCFS refers to them, and some are court ordered. And then we have crisis intervention programs where they are referred through certain hotlines.
Okay.
And then majority of our programs are either referred through a crisis intervention hotline, a DCFS or a private agency referral, or we have people that could come to the door that say, I need help.
Yeah.
They would typically probably fall underneath that counseling piece.
Yeah.
The majority of those referrals
And that's
is self like walk-ins.
kind of the one you want to expand on for
Mm-hmm.
people. Too.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Do you guys participate in any sort of like contingency planning? And if so, like what factors would One Hope have to plan for like emergency situations, like in the economy or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that? Do you
So
guys...
so we, I mean, obviously budgets are always part of our contingency planning, right? How we ensure.
Mm-hmm.
We always look at what's going on in the social service sector and how can we help either become part of that. For example, a Family First Act is going to roll out, and it's a large set of money that serves 4 sets of criteria. And OHU is looking at how we can, because it's looking at agencies that provide evidence-based practices, have good outcomes, and 2 others I can't remember off the top of my head. And we are looking at how we can be part of that Family First rollout because it's federal and state funding.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Other contingency planning, I think, is just really based on how we assess the risk going on in our economy overall. Like, for example, when we look at retention, we notice that retention is an issue across all social service agencies. But what are we doing as our service to make us stand out for a better rate? So things like that. Does that answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what I was looking for, too. Well, and then I guess my last one was, how would you describe the decision styles within One Hope's United organization?
Some transparent. And some just, I don't want to say delegated, but what's what I'm looking for? Just decided. Does that make sense? So the way we have a cabinet,
Mm-hmm.
and there's certain things, decisions they make at their level that are passed down, right? But then we also have a senior leadership team of each line of service that decides policy and procedures and how things roll out. So it's how those 2 entities work together and then communicate to the overall agency. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense when I explain that.
Yes.
So I feel like OHU is better at communication than it was before, but there's always rooms for improvement. Every agency has rooms for improvement because of all the transitions we're currently going in.
Yeah. You guys
We
are
kinda have
definitely
that
doing
piece
a
right
lot
now.
with
Mm-hmm.
the name changes and, well, even just reorganizing a mission statement and everything. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
so. Awesome. Well, that's all I really had. If
Okay.
Stephanie has anything else?
No.
I really, really appreciate
No problem.
you
If you
taking
go
the time.
to write anything and you're like, I need a little bit more, someone just shoot me an email. I can always answer it over email if you were looking for something else. Like when you're looking at it, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Good luck.
Hey, thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.